overall in B2B, like building this influencer program takes much more time just because, yes, you have to build those relationships. And also, if you're considering engaging influencers for your B2B marketing, think about it as a long-term program rather than one or two quick activations, because I think we all know, like overall in B2B, you need way more touch points with your prospective buyer before you're able to bring them to the consideration or purchase stages of the funnel.
Are you a scaling SaaS founder? Ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those you don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where facing fears isn't about being fearless. It's about showing up, stepping up, and realizing that the scariest thing would be never trying at all. I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I help B2B SaaS founders like you grow from traction to scale. Here, growth is more than just numbers. It's about crafting a future-proof company, premium valuation, and leaders who build a business of significance while living epic, adventurous lives. What do you think the most powerful sales channel is for your SaaS company? Is it your website, your ads, maybe your sales team? But what if it was someone else's voice? Influencer marketing isn't just for fashion brands and TikTok trends. It is a serious game changing strategy for B2B and B2C SaaS companies if it's done right. The challenge? Most businesses either treat influences like rented billboards or expect overnight conversions. And spoiler alert, both approaches miss the mark by a lot. Today, we're breaking down what actually works when it comes to influencer partnerships. We're talking about building long term relationships instead of one and done promos, giving influencers the creative freedom to keep things authentic because trust drives sales, and even some wild outside the box campaign ideas like how a farmer can help sell cybersecurity software. Yeah, really. We're also diving into the rise of AI influencers and why they might not be the magic bullet that some companies think they are. Plus, the biggest headache for every marketing team: how do you actually measure ROI on this stuff? If you've ever wondered whether influencer marketing is worth it, or if you're already in the game but want to do it better, this episode is all for you. It's packed with insights that you won't want to miss. Let's get into it. Our founder on Tuesday was Casper Tourneau, CEO and co-founder of QuestionBase. Casper shared how his AI-powered Slack bot turns everyday team chats into actionable documentation. So cool. Casper discussed the challenges of balancing entrepreneurship and family life, the evolution of leadership through resilience, and how AI can simplify workflows and boost productivity. Our expert guest last week was Chris Ball, managing partner at Hoxton Wealth. He revealed how he scaled his firm from 35 million to over 2.1 billion under management, highlighted the power of people, culture, and sound investment principles in building resilient, high-performing businesses. You missed either of those episodes, go back and give them a listen. Such good stuff there. My guest today, I'm really excited about. It is Yuliya Gorenko. She's an influencer marketing expert with over a decade of experience building influencer programs for SaaS brands like SE Ranking, Hack Chinese, and UnaCheck. She's facilitated thousands of brand influencer partnerships, scaling campaigns from 0 to 8 figures. Yulia is part of Mischka Agency, a performance-focused influencer marketing firm where she helps SaaS companies unlock the true potential of influencer collaborations. This was a conversation that just blew my mind that this was even possible, and I love that she is here to help us do it. Welcome, Yuliya Gorenko. Hey, Yulia, welcome to SaaS Fuel.
Hi, Jeff. It's good to be here.
Today is all about influencer marketing and how we can build influencer campaigns in the SaaS world. You've successfully scaled influencer campaigns from scratch to 8-figure budgets. So what are the key steps that companies should take to build lead generation with influencer marketing?
Yeah, let's dive into this. So,
Yeah.
First of all, 8 figures sounds intimidating, okay? And if somebody's out there listening and maybe he's only just getting started with influencer marketing or considering getting started with influencer marketing, please don't be intimidated. You don't have to scale to 8 figures right away. You can start with onboarding 1, 2, 3 influencers that are really a great fit for your brand, and then test it and make some learnings and gradually scale from there. I do have experience scaling influencer programs from 0 to 8 figures annual budgets. This requires a lot of manual labor, to be honest, just to keep track of all the influencer conversations and deliverables and search, etc. But yeah, you can definitely start much smaller and gradually grow it into a channel that will drive in leads for your business.
Love it. Well, SaaS is a little bit unique in this space. And I think we're all familiar with influencer marketing, maybe cosmetics or insurance or things like that. What are maybe some unique challenges to SaaS companies with influencer marketing compared to some of the traditional consumer brands?
Yeah, I think we're so used to hearing the term influencer these days and associating it primarily with a social media personality in the first
Yeah.
place. However, if you think about it, the term itself means somebody who has an influence, and people who are or were influential existed way before social media even became a thing.
Yes.
If we think about century ago, maybe your local head of your local community or church, etc., was your influencer. Right now, what's happening in the digital world is that certain influences can be amplified because we can now reach so many more people outside of our circle due to technology and social media. Yeah, when you think about influencers, sometimes you like all you can think about is just an Instagrammer unpacking a new beauty product, but there's just so much more beyond that. And there's definitely a very strong play for influencer marketing in, I would say, any or almost any product or service category, and of course in SaaS as well. I think I'll just start with some top of mind
Sure.
examples, and maybe they're a little, I think like one of my favorite brands actually is Grammarly. I think I'm specifically biased towards them because they were built and invented and created initially in Ukraine, where I'm originally from.
Love it.
But yeah, now they're a global company, and I actually use their solutions. I think they're genius, and they collaborate with influencers across a variety of verticals, across a variety of channels. They do YouTube integrations, they do collaborations and like short format content on TikTok and Instagram, where content creators can showcase how Grammarly helps them write better, achieve their goals better, run their businesses better, be more efficient, etc. It's, think about it as a customer testimonial, but amplified, because you're amplifying it through somebody who already has a large audience, and most likely an audience that loves and trusts them. I think another great example would be, I would categorize them as consumer slash small business brand. Everybody knows Shopify.
Sure.
They are a huge advertiser in the influencer space. And again, they are relying on creators across YouTube, podcast, in various spaces, not just business influencers, but literally like any type of influencer you can think of, to share their stories, like how you can build your small business, something that you're passionate about, and become more efficient with marketing and selling your products that you create through their solutions. So Shopify, I don't know exactly how much they spend, but from some of the estimates that I've seen, we're talking like 9 or 8, 9 figures a month on
Wow.
all these like podcasts and YouTube advertising campaigns. That's like a big example right there. So yeah, and again, like I'm talking about larger brands like Shopify and Grammarly, but you don't have to aim for 8 figures right away. You can identify a few creators that are highly affinitive for your brand specifically and reach out to them and see if it's a fit and see, what idea they would have for marketing your service.
Like that. How is it different for B2B? What are some things that B2B SaaS founders should be thinking about in engaging influencers and even just finding them?
Yeah, I love this. I love this question. I think because we have witnessed such a big evolution and development of influencer marketing as an industry, in the consumer world, influencer marketing has become very transactional. You don't want to, like, you very rarely see brands or agencies taking an effort to actually establish a good relationship with an influencer. Most frequently, they would just reach out, hey, we're going to ship you the product. Please feature it in like 1, 2, 3 posts. Here's your invoice, done. There's no real relationship behind these transactions, unfortunately. And in B2B, what I would highly recommend is doing it the old school way and thinking about the relationship in the first place, because most likely as a B2B brand, you're not just working with a like social media creator, content creator. You will be working with a thought leader, like in a way, like Jeff, you are a thought leader. You have a podcast, you have a large LinkedIn community. And I bet if you recommend something, if you recommend, I don't know, a productivity SaaS solution across your LinkedIn network, or even if you bring it up at a certain event that you attend, people would care. Your circle, they would listen to you, they would care. If I'm a brand and I want to reach you, Jeff, and have you talk about my product in a certain way, I want to establish a trusted relationship with you first. I don't want to be just, hey, Jeff, I'm going to pay you like X dollars. Please do a post. It will never be authentic. And that's honestly, like from my personal experience, a lot of B2B influencers would be even like offended by it. Like what I'm just like a number to you. So B2B marketers, be sure to do a lot of research on those thought leaders that you're trying to target and approach them in a very customized manner. Try to provide value to them beyond just paying them. A few examples, maybe you are going to attend an industry convention where you will be having a booth and presenting your solution to attendees. Why don't you invite your target thought leader to this convention and maybe even sponsor their trip? And if you know that they're like really into whatever is happening at this convention, potentially this will resonate with this influencer much more than you just paying them. They would be like, oh my God, the brand is going out of their way to create a certain experience for me, to help me get to this convention, network, meet people in the industry. And they would be much more likely to become your genuine brand advocates. Like even at this convention where you're bringing them, they will be posting stuff from the event. They will be mentioning your brand. They will be engaging maybe even at your booth with your potential prospects. And believe me, your prospects would also appreciate the opportunity of talking to an influencer much more than talking to your sales rep. So you're creating like a win situation, both for this thought leader and for your brand. And again, it all starts with understanding what they want and offering them some value. So to sum it up, if you're a B2B marketer, approach your target influencers very carefully and nurture those relationships.
That's really smart because it is a relationship. You're not looking for something transactional. You're really looking for something that's long term. And I think when you do that, you're really building like I love your term, brand advocate. And so when they're making the recommendation, it is because they really believe in it, not just because they're getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And I think from the outside, Consumers, buyers can kind of sense when it's something that is not really heartfelt. It's something that somebody's obligated to do or promote.
Correct. Yeah.
So much more authentic when you have that brand advocate
Yeah. And
and
I would
develop
say
that.
overall in B2B, building this influencer program takes much more time just because, yes, you have to build those relationships. And also, if you're considering engaging influencers for your B2B marketing, think about it as a long-term program rather than one or two quick activations, because I think we all know, like, overall in B2B, you need way more touch points with your prospective buyer
Yeah.
before you're able to bring them to the, I don't know, consideration or purchase stages of the funnel. So maybe just one random influencer mention won't necessarily drive the results right away, and it's totally fine. So think about it not as a small campaign, but rather like a long-term program where you engage a certain pool of influencers on a consistent basis. Maybe you are letting them know about your new feature releases. Maybe you're inviting them to your events or events that you're attending. Maybe you invite them to speak at your webinar, etc. But think about a long term, at least like a 12-month program of what are you doing with each of these B2B influencers that you're trying to bring in.
What platforms should companies be thinking about? The obvious one maybe for B2B would be LinkedIn. But are there other ones, or how should we approach influencer marketing across platforms?
I get this question a lot, and I think, yes, LinkedIn probably would be the most obvious platform. However, again, this is my subjective experience, but something that I've seen working really well is thinking a little bit beyond, like, just platforms. Maybe there is a perfect thought leader that is featured in the media, is invited to speak at conventions, etc. But this person might not necessarily have a large social media audience for a lot of reasons. Maybe they just don't care to update their X or
Sure.
LinkedIn that much. But everybody wants to hear them speak at a convention. When it comes to somebody like this, maybe just having them post on LinkedIn about you is not necessarily going to provide value for you. In B2B, and I think, like, it's something that I love about B2B, that you can be so creative with what you can do with those thought leaders as a marketer. Think about your own platforms. Think about how you can invite those influencers maybe to contribute to a blog post that you're writing. Ask them for a quote. Maybe ask them to host or co-host a webinar for your audience. People would rather hear from them again than probably from your sales rep. So having the thought leader in your industry speaking at your webinar would probably help you attract more people to this webinar. So think about these creative ways of leverage their thought leadership and influence. Another idea would be, I mentioned a convention engagement already, right? Like you're heading to a convention, think about how you can collaborate with them there. Maybe you want to co-host a session, at an in-person convention with an influencer. Podcasts are also great. A lot of brands in B2B are starting like their own brand podcasts. But again, they
Right.
realize that nobody wants to hear from my CMO or like my founder. And they even hire these thought leaders as the hosts of their podcasts. The podcast would be branded. People know that they're listening to your brand's podcast, but they're listening to the actual thought leader. So you can be so creative and don't just think about one or two like LinkedIn posts or have them like mention you somewhere, but think about how you can make them a part of like your overall marketing mix and leverage them across your own channels as well.
That's really smart. I know some of the big B2B brands, AWS has used TikTok pretty
Oh
successfully.
yeah.
Cybersecurity, I think Dr. Mike, and was that
Yeah,
might
yeah,
have
yeah. I
also
remember I
been
told you
TikTok.
about those. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
That's a whole different conversations. And I like this. If, of course, it depends on the brand. And maybe certain brands should not go to TikTok and Instagram in the first place and stick to those more traditional tactics that I've just described. However, there is definitely a lot of space for creativity. And yes, AWS is a great example because I was shocked when I saw this. Like when you think AWS, you think about this super trusted service for developers. It's like very
Right.
niche, very specific. And I saw a large, we call them macro influencer, which means they have huge followership on TikTok, posting a video about AWS. I don't remember exactly what he was talking about, but he was like highlighting a certain feature release, I think. And he was like, in the call to action, it was basically like go to their website, check them out. And the funny part was that the influencer that AWS chose to work with on TikTok was absolutely, he has nothing to do with like software development or like infrastructure, etc. He is a comedian. So he did this video, like a funny little comedy skit. And the value of partnering with somebody like him is huge awareness. You're reaching so many people on this platform. And I think one of the misconceptions that marketers might have about, if we're talking about TikTok specifically, is that, oh, TikTok is strictly B2C. But let's ask ourselves, after a long day of work, being a marketer or being a company founder, etc., what do? You go on social media and
Sure.
you consume these little funny TikTok videos. At least I do, okay?
Yep.
Confession. Confession
We
time.
all do.
Right.
Even
So,
when we say we don't. The
exactly.
algorithms know.
Yeah. So you are, as a professional, you're still consuming content all on
Of
these
course.
platforms. So it's not TikTok is exclusive to B2C and LinkedIn is exclusive to B2B. So if you're a smart B2B marketer and if there's a certain play of like how you can collaborate with a content creator on TikTok, this can be a massive success, and your target audience can actually appreciate your creativity and the humor and being relatable, to be honest.
It humanizes the brand. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things that is really interesting about the AWS campaign is because you do think of them in a certain way, and then you see them doing a spot with a comedian, then it just changes the perspective and just makes the brand much more approachable and friendly and
Yeah.
funny and not stuffy.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yeah, another example that I can bring up here to prove that you can think outside of the box is something that my agency did for one of our clients that is a cybersecurity brand. And again, when it comes to cybersecurity, you probably think serious, reliable, boring. And cybersecurity marketing does not have to be boring. And something that we did, we wanted to do a campaign to educate people about the various online threats, scams, you know, how we're all
Mm.
targeted by those like phishing emails, phishing messages, etc. Scammers trying to get our personal information and steal money from us. So we just wanted to do a campaign to educate people that this stuff is happening. It can be very sophisticated and hard to spot, so people fall victims for these scams. And of course, we wanted to position our client, our agency's client, as a solution to some of these scams. One of these scams that became really popular, unfortunately, in 2024 was a so-called pig butchering scam. For those who are not familiar, it's just a name really, but what it means is a scammer sends you a text message and they're like, "Hey, Monica, how are you? I am looking for this and that." And you, Jeff, you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not Monica. You got the wrong number."
Ah,
And the
mm.
scammer after that would try to lure you into a conversation by saying things like, "Oh, Jeff, thank you for letting me know. How are you? How's your day going?" And no, and unfortunately, some people fall
Yeah,
for this because, like,
of course.
we mean and we expect others to mean, right? These scammers, like over the course of weeks, they build this like relationship with you by texting you, and they build those personas. Like they would tell you, "Oh, I'm a business owner from New York," or something like that. They will send you like fake pictures to prove that they are business owner or whatever.
Mm.
And at some point they will offer you to invest in some like crypto platform or whatever, and it's all
Wow.
made up. Like it's just a fake website where you would log in and put money into, and they will just steal it from you. So
Wow.
this scam got this name pig butchering because they're like slowly butchering you into giving them all the money that you saved up.
Yeah.
And to explain how this scheme worked, we partnered with a YouTuber who is a farmer. And believe me, there's a lot of demand for farming content on YouTube. People genuinely enjoy watching somebody like doing some homesteading stuff and growing their own food and being self-sufficient, etc. We partnered with a YouTuber who primarily does farming and homesteading type of content. And in a very relatable way, he explained to his audience what a pig butchering scam is and position our client as one of the solutions to like how to prevent being targeted by these scammers. Talk about creativity and how you can promote a cybersecurity brand by partnering with a farmer on YouTube. Here you go. I'm very proud of this campaign. And by the way, for those skeptics in the audience, I should say that the campaign was ROI positive, and so the client, they have a B2C and B2B solution, and we were able to measure the revenue on the B2C side. So like we saw how many people from this particular YouTube video went to their website and purchased the product. The video definitely paid off. Okay, it was not
Wow.
just an awareness little marketing thing, it was actually driving revenue for the brand.
Ready to dominate your market and skyrocket your revenue? Dive into Small Fish Big Pond, delivering a world class business that swims circles around competitors. This book is packed with powerful marketing and leadership insights guaranteed to transform your business and operate world class. Small Fish Big Pond delivers proven strategies to sharpen your marketing message, deliver unmatched value to your clients, and guide your prospects' buying journey to one inevitable conclusion: that your company is the only solution for them. Inside, you'll find step by step frameworks and time tested growth principles to attract your ideal clients, convert them, and then turn them into your passionate brand ambassadors. Grab your copy today in print, ebook, or audio at smallfishbigpond.com or on Amazon. Plus, remember, every book sale supports charity. All profits go there. Always have, always will. So dive in and make a difference. That's brilliant. And just making that connection between farming and a scam, and then you're selling something that's completely unrelated to both, other than maybe scam prevention, cybersecurity, which is absolutely brilliant. How do business leaders need to think about connecting their products to a campaign like that?
That's what marketers are getting paid for. I don't know. No, I mean,
Like that.
I don't know. I don't know how to answer this question. Typically, I used to work for many years as an in-house marketer. being on the brand side. And then at a certain point of my career, I pivoted. I started doing consultant work and then transitioned into the agency world. And I guess, yeah, like that's what we're getting paid for. Like you come up to
Yeah.
us with a challenge. Hey, I am a brand X. I offer this, and that's how I want to position myself. And that's how we end up with those Super Bowl ads, right? Like,
Yep. No, that's good. Measuring ROI and
Mhm.
influencer marketing, that can be tricky, especially in SaaS.
Yeah.
What key metrics should B2B SaaS companies focus on to make sure their campaigns are delivering value and
Mhm.
results and positive ROI?
Yeah, I think measurement is definitely the most important part of any marketing campaign. And
Yeah,
I think in the B2C space, it's a little more transparent and simple. As I just described, you can simply incorporate a tracking URL or a coupon code which an influencer can
right.
share, and you just have full visibility into the traffic and conversions that the influencer is driving. In the B2B space, where, as we just said, like your potential buyer might need more than just one touch point, measurement can be a little more tricky. And I would say you can measure several things typically in a B2B influencer marketing campaign. First would be still your awareness metrics. Yes, they are important. If you're working with an influencer on a webinar or a podcast, you can see how many people you reached through this effort. And then typically, again, from my subjective experience, what I am seeing in the B2B world is that you don't want to necessarily drive your audience from this like first influencer touch point straight to like book a demo, because this might come off as pushy and aggressive, and you might just share a certain like resource with a lead magnet or something, right, which the influencer would promote. Like maybe you have a video or an ebook, etc. And typically B2B marketers would give an influencer the URL to this resource. Again, it can be a trackable URL, so you can then see how many people actually downloaded your ebook or whatever you're promoting. So this is a very tangible metric. And then once you capture the lead, you have your CRM and you can track like how they are behaving further and whether they're converting at some point or not. Another interesting tactic that I've seen some brands do is simply asking your prospect at a certain point, where did you hear about us? And let's say somebody booked a demo with you or a discovery call or whatever. And as you're opening up your call, you can be like, oh, by the way, where did you learn about my brand? And if it's an inbound lead, they will tell you, oh, I saw an ad, or I heard about you at a convention, or I heard
Sure.
influencer X talking about you on a podcast. So you will hear from your buyer. And companies where, marketing and sales have the right synergy, they would feed each other this data, right? The salesperson will tell the marketing person like, hey, yes, the influencer campaign worked. We got an inbound lead who mentioned that influencer.
Yeah.
So, or like another way to do it would be, when you, let's say you have your demo sign up form on the website or whatever, and you can add a field for your prospective buyer to answer this question, like, how did you hear about us? And they just can type in, we heard about you from this influencer who was talking about you at the convention. So here you go. As a marketer, you can just capture this answer right away as somebody's signing up for your demo.
With the SaaS companies, especially B2B, and probably all of them, there's definitely, they have brand voice, they have messaging, they have specific way they want to show up in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, they want the influencer to really be authentic and share that authentic voice, really be that brand ambassador, that brand advocate, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
How do they link those two things together where you really do have that brand voice and messaging, but also the authentic,
Mhm.
brand ambassador,
I
advocate?
love this question. So I'm gonna give you a few examples. First, continuing with the cybersecurity client as an example, I am a marketer, and I'm not going to pretend that I understand cybersecurity at a level that an actual cybersecurity professional does.
Sure.
So, when I work with cybersecurity influencers, I simply trust them. I know that they are hands on. They know all the pain points. They know all the needs of their community. I can tell them, this is my product, this is what it does. And you can choose
Okay.
how you want to talk about it. They will know much better. So I think don't be a control freak. Just trust your influencers. They know better than you how to position your product. I will give you another example. So I'm actually friends with one, like a pretty large influencer in the B2B world, and he is approached by brands, large brands, by the way, quite often. And he was like telling me a story when a brand told him to use the trademark symbol in the post caption. So like whenever
Yes.
he would mention their brand, he would have to use this TM symbol. And he's like, come on, like my audience knows that this comes from you. Like I would never do this, and they know it, and it just looks so inauthentic. Like don't try to
Mm.
control every little thing. Of course, like you wanna make sure that you provide your influencer with the right like suggested talking points and the right description of what your product is and also is not. Like you just want to make sure you give them all the information. This can include your brand visual assets if maybe they're working on a video for you or like a certain blog post, etc. Yeah, give them all those necessary brand elements like logos and colors, etc. But don't be prescriptive. You can guide them a little bit, but you should be coming from a place of trust that they know better how to talk about your product and also how to position your product to their audience because they know what their audience is asking for.
That's really smart. I think that we could definitely get in the way of that authentic message and trying to control the narrative too much, and that it just break down that whole process. What about AI influencers? We're starting to see some of those come along, and whether it's, is it a real person? Is it not a real person? And so that's one side of it, but then also characters. Some of the
Oh,
more famous ones, you got Santa Claus and Coca-Cola, Tony the Tiger.
these are mascots, right? Like these are not like your typical influencer. But yeah, AI influencers, I would say I've been doing some research in this space to understand, okay, AI is such a huge trend and everybody's trying to think how to
Yeah.
leverage AI in their marketing. And it looks like right now audiences are not very appreciative of AI influencers. The whole idea of why influencers become influencers is because they are human beings with certain, I don't know, perspectives, opinions, sometimes even drawbacks, etc. Like people relate to them, people find them interesting, people trust their recommendations, and people can easily spot that AI is just not it. And yes, like I've seen there was like I think it happened last year. There's a YouTuber, he's like pretty big. He's just like an entertainment YouTuber, but millions of followers, and he made one video where he basically created an AI avatar for himself and had this AI avatar, I don't know, host the video instead of doing it himself. And then he did, yeah, and then he did another video where he like did a release that, oh, like it wasn't me, I like programmed this thing. And people, like the comments were so hateful. People were like,
Mm.
we're so upset that, you know, it's AI, like it's
Yeah.
fake. There is no connection
You
behind
feel
it.
duped.
Yes, I don't want to sound like a denier of I think there is definitely some play of using AI, and maybe in the future AI influencers will become a thing where, I don't know, maybe as a brand you want to like clearly mark that this is an AI generated influencer or content,
Yeah.
etc. So I think there needs to be more legislation, regulation in this space in the first place, so that we don't, so that it's transparent for the consumer. What am I looking at? Is it a real
Right.
person? Is it an AI thing? And I think for me, you can rely on AI to create a lot of content. Like, I think while you and I will be working on one video, AI can create like 1,000 or like 1,000,000 videos. I don't know. So, yes, you definitely can use AI generated content. But when it comes to influencer marketing, I think like the whole idea of influencer marketing is leveraging the real thought leadership and relatability of a real person. And people still want to connect with people. And I think, especially when we're seeing this growth of AI at such scale, maybe we become even more in need for this real human
I
connection
think so.
and
Yeah.
authenticity. I feel like, and I've already seen this predicted by one of the, I think even like Gartner or something. I think they're predicting AI fatigue at some point, where
Yeah.
people would not be so excited about AI anymore. And I think influencer marketing will never get outdated, because as human beings, we have the need to connect with another human being.
It makes a lot of sense. And that's why we trust influencers, is because they are real. And it's very different than going and hiring somebody. Yeah, in this, there have been a number of suits over this in regulation, but just even with the FTC, of hiring somebody to do a testimonial that's unrelated. And I think it's a little bit the same thing of creating a fake person, an avatar, an AI, to give a testimonial or recommend something, or even we've seen that celebrity voiceovers
Oh
on
yeah.
ads, and you hear that and you go, I know that celebrity did not do this ad, and I immediately
I mean,
distrust the
you
brand.
know, but my grandma might not know that.
No,
Honestly,
that's
like,
exactly right.
I'm so sorry. I don't want to come off as ageist, but that's like real, my life story. Like, my grandma would send me a video, like totally fake AI generated video, and be like, "Oh, look how this kitty is dancing," or whatever. And I'm like, "No, it's not a real kitty."
That's so true.
So
It's
I
so
think,
true.
yes, brands have to be ethical when they're leveraging AI. Like, be transparent about it. Hey, this video was generated by AI. Maybe there should be like a watermark or something.
Maybe so. You did mention the difference between AI and mascots. What do you think about companies having mascots? What's your take on that? Is that something that works well in B2B?
Oh wow. Yeah, I think I've seen some mascots in B2B. I think Salesforce is going pretty big with their like drawn little animal characters. They have this whole trailblazing theme, and then like they leverage these little, like, I don't remember who is their mascot. I'm sorry, but something like a bear or whatever. And this little mascot would be like jumping and trailblazing in this cartoonish world. So there's definitely a place. I think mascots are fun. They sometimes become like almost like a certain part of the brand identity, where they become like dear to your heart in some way.
Yeah.
Like, when you just the B2C examples that you've given, like did you say Coca-Cola or McDonald's or whatever? Like,
Yes. Yeah. Ronald McDonald would definitely be one.
oh, I know what I love. I love the Duolingo, the language learning app, and they have this
Yes.
owl mascot, and it's just
Yeah.
so famous, and it's so fun, right? So, like, I've seen Duolingo doing campaigns with influencers across social media, where like an influencer would get to meet the owl and like in real life, somebody wearing the owl costume, like being a part of the
Really
influencer's
smart.
video. And yeah, like now all you can think about is like when you see this green owl somewhere online, you're like, oh, that's a Duolingo thing right away. So like they become like they're cute, right? Like in all honesty, most of the mascots, they're cute and lovable. So I think it's a very smart and fun way to build a very strong brand identity.
Yeah, without a doubt. What do you think about doing outside influencers versus inside? Like you
Mm.
mentioned doing the podcast and you have an influencer do that versus maybe somebody from inside your organization host it
Hmm.
and build influence that way. Do you
That's
lean one way or the other,
It's a
or is it a
really
both?
good question. Yeah. I think it really comes down to having the right person within your organization. So, yes, in house influencers can be a huge thing, but only when it is authentic. Like, you cannot force somebody on your team just to become an influencer. And
Yeah.
sometimes you can maybe like specifically hire somebody who is already an influencer and they love your brand and invite them to become a part of your team in some capacity, and yes, like host a podcast on your behalf or post on social media, create some content for you. And actually I think like some of the best brand content strategies that I've seen is when brand content is created by an actual thought leader. And it's up to you to
Mm.
decide where you want to just hire an external thought leader or have somebody within your organization, but who is an actual thought leader. Again, with the cybersecurity example, me as a marketer, I would never be able to write a blog post about cybersecurity with the depth and the
Right.
detail that a certain cybersecurity expert can do. The best content marketing strategies are using real experts. And yeah, I think it's up to them to decide whether this person is ready to commit full time or you want to leverage them on a part time basis. But if you within your organization identified somebody who can be a strong thought leader, let's say your cybersecurity organization, maybe your chief cybersecurity officer is eager to share his expertise with other people in the industry, you can partner with your CISO and have him or her do more in terms of like content creation, but it should never be forced. So I think it's an awesome strategy, but just keep it authentic. Make sure that the person is actually like charismatic and relatable and an actual expert, and they actually want to do it, not just because you're paying them.
So good. Well, Yulia, this has been an awesome conversation. Where can people learn more about you online?
LinkedIn would be the best way to connect with me. It's Yuliya Gorenko on LinkedIn. And yeah, if you ever have any questions about influencer marketing, I would love to connect.
Outstanding. We'll make sure and link that in the show notes. It's been, like I said, just an awesome conversation. I love the topic, and you brought so many great ideas and insights. So thank you for being on SaaS Fuel.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Yulia, for coming on the show and sharing your insights and resources. You can learn more about Yulia and Mischka Agency at mishka.agency. As always, all links, highlights, resources, and full show notes are available at saasfuel.com. And of course, be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well. It's at Champion Leadership. We have full video episodes of SaaS Fuel. We've got outtakes, we have shorts, reels, and training just for SaaS founders. Thought leaders, share this episode with anyone whose blog titles sound like they were written by a malfunctioning chatbot obsessed with keywords. Everyone who shares this week gets a magic TLDR button that turns their 2,000 word article into a single sentence that your readers will actually finish. What if you could scale your SaaS business globally with proven strategies in finance and corporate operations? Join us next Tuesday as Ahikam Kaufman, founder and CEO of SafeBooks, shares how he's helped companies navigate growth, optimize business strategies, and master corporate finance at scale. No spreadsheet expertise required. And next week on our SaaS Fuel Expert Series, we'll sit down with John Horn, CEO of Stub Group. They help businesses struggling with paid ads achieve real ROI. Discover how his personalized boutique approach to ad management drives sustainable growth without the usual risk of ad disapprovals or account suspensions. That's a big deal. I will see you next time. And as always, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/SaaSfuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.